Hey, it's Adam with the Productivity Academy. Today I want to talk to you about the entrepreneur's morning routine. So, this is something that I've gotten a lot of information from other people, and I find it really interesting to hear what their morning routines are. And so, I'm going to share with you a little bit about my routine and also what I've heard from other people. So, the big thing that I always talk about is having a morning schedule or a routine, but only insofar as you do your scheduling, and that's where you're collecting all those loose items from your desk if it's on a post-it note or Todoist or Evernote, and reviewing all of that, looking at your calendar, planning out your day, and then batching and prioritizing tasks and writing that down myself. I use the Best Self Journal. We'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute. But I want to back up a little bit and explain a little bit more about what I do and why. So, in general, consider myself I'm an early-ish riser. I'm certainly not up at the crack of dawn, but I do get up about between 5:30 and 6. And something I added in the last year was to get up, and the first thing I do is to go for a walk. I know some people go for a run. I'm a runner, but I don't run in the morning. I used to do that, and I found that I just like to get up and move a little bit, and it also keeps me from immediately picking up the phone and getting sucked into that or sitting down at the computer. And it just feels good. Get moving, and I don't need to break sweat or anything. I just go out and walk for about 15 minutes, and sometimes my wife comes with me, sometimes she doesn't, and we come back, and then I make some coffee or she makes coffee, and I sit down and I do a little bit of reading. And when I say a little bit, I mean like a little bit. I'm right now, for instance, going through the Daily Stoic, and it's like a page. But I do that first before doing anything else, because I've found that a lot of times if I allow myself to, look at social media, look at all these other things, then I definitely get sucked into that, and that's not what I want to be doing at that time. And it's not because I hate Facebook or Reddit. I can't walk away from. I like these things. I have absolutely no problem with them. What I have a problem with is myself is when I look back and I'm like, you know what? I spent an hour and a half, on social media, on Twitter and Facebook this morning, and like now I'm kind of out of steam. It's the afternoon, and I'd rather be doing that now and having used my morning time more effectively. So that's where that comes from. You're not going to get a huge tirade about like don't do the things you enjoy. Like that's, to me, completely goes against what I want to do with my morning and my morning routine and routines in general. I do them so I can do all the stuff that I like doing. So anyways, mini rant aside, that's the very first part, okay? And I'm looking actually to expand that. I think that there's a lot to be said for reading and kind of taking that path in the morning or taking time to write. But for right now, that's good enough for me. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I may expand it to like read a chapter of a book in the morning, maybe some current events, things like that. So, okay, we're now up to, 6:15 in the morning. And what I do from there is I've recently actually changed this because I didn't schedule enough time to kind of take care of some admin stuff and things in the sense that my team needs to get moving. And so if they're waiting on input for me, it's not ideal in the sense that I would generally wait and say, okay, maybe later in the morning or afternoon is when I would get to this. But if I schedule just a little bit of time to really upfront in my day to dive in, answer any questions, and give them quick feedback, then they can run for the rest of the day or a good part of it, and I don't have to break my stride in the morning. So I take some time to do that, answer any admin, as well as, since I'm on the West Coast, a lot of my team is on later time zones, so for them it's later. It gives me a chance to just real quick answer some questions. But I don't keep that stuff open, and I don't open my email yet. So what I do from there is to go in and, sorry, I'm getting real close to the screen here. I go into my Best Self Journal at 7 o'clock. This is when I fill this out, and I'm just showing the PDF because you can go and check that out. And it's really cool. They've got this available here if you haven't heard of this yet. But you can go through, and I'm going to skip through some of this. There we go. Result goals. This is their monthly planning, weekly planning, and then this is a typical day. So if you can see this over here, this is the time blocks. And so I'll go through and fill this out. And I generally do about 80-90% of it. In the sense that, for me, it's everything about this is an 80-20 rule. You're getting a lot of value out of just, doing it. I'm not a completionist, but if you need to have every single half hour blocked off, then more power to you. But it's really handy to have this here. I go through my calendar. Just helps remind me of what things are. So I look at my calendar on, I use Google Calendar, and I block off any meetings or anything like that I've already got scheduled. Then I go back through and look at what are my to-dos, what are my projects, what are my high priority items, and I arrange those and then schedule them in here. And then I do, of course, go through what am I grateful for. Coffee tends to show up a lot there. I'm not going to lie. I'm not super proud of that, but it's heartfelt and it comes from a good place. And then my goal, what's the goal for the day? What is it that I want to accomplish? And then today's target. So top 3. I usually try to mix in one business, if you will, either personal or maybe it's an exercise goal, getting back in, saying, okay, I haven't run in 2 days, so today I really want to get out and I'm going to do at least, say, 6 miles and do a workout after that. All right, and that then takes me up into the time around getting into like my first either meeting or first kind of deep work period, and I use that a little loosely. If you've read Deep Work by Cal Newport, or you've heard that term, I generally can't get more than about 2.5 hours at a time, but I found that to be pretty effective. And it's allowing me to really make some strides where I know a lot of people have a hard time getting like 45 minutes and like you really got to push stuff out. So that's why I say I use Deep Work loosely. I know some people can get like 4 or 5 hour blocks of time. But basically to summarize, once I get that planning done, I try to head in to doing that. And of course, the one thing I did forget was a quick break for food. So I'll have to add that in there. Generally that comes after the planning. Once I've got that done, because it just takes me a few minutes, I have a green smoothie. So this is an important one to add into there. I recently started doing this. My wife recommended this like probably years ago. I hope she sees this video. And we recently started doing it. We've got a nice blender, and we just put a ton of spinach and strawberries and bananas, all sorts of good stuff in there. So you get a lot of fiber, get a lot of good stuff. And it's super easy to make, super quick, tasty. I love it. And then I get a good serving of veggies and fruit right away. So that is the entrepreneur's morning routine from my point of view. So I'm curious too if you've got ways you like to go about it. The other things that I've seen other people do is probably a little bit more exercise, in terms of that's when they literally do most of their exercise, is they'll get up and go. I used to do that when I had a job and I had to go down to an office. So I would get up at home and go run. So I had that done, and then sometimes at lunch or later in the day I'd go for a walk. So kind of the reverse of what I do now. And the other thing I would think I would have seen some people do is getting up and immediately going in and doing like a block of work. Some people are super effective right when they get up and get going. I used to do that myself, but I found that I just got sucked into a lot of one-off stuff, or I'd check my email and it'd be like an hour and a half later, and it was like, okay, I just totally blew my schedule off and I didn't take the time to sit down and plan it first. So that's why I do what I do. So again, if you've got any questions or comments or best methods for yourself, let me know in the comments and I'd be happy to read them and get back to you.